Somehow we're at the weekend again. Well, almost there. Hope you're good. Hope you had a good one so far. I know a decent Friday lineup, wherever you're up to. I'm looking forward to the weekend ahead. I am away. Just gonna let you know now. I'm away this weekend, so videos are going to be a little bit different than usual. I'm going to be in Bognor with the family, so I'll try to do as much as I can. Um, I'll try and do something to what I can, whatever it may be tomorrow. And then on the morning of the game, Liverpool game, Sunday morning, I'll try to get an update from the team and put a video out. I will put it out on the website, but it's whether I get the time to do it on a video on this. I probably will, but I'm just giving you the heads up that you might find it's a little bit more quiet than usual. So I apologise in advance for that. But yeah, going to Butlins for the weekend with the family, a bit of a Christmassy weekend away with the kids. So it'll be busy, but yeah, certainly something to keep me occupied for the weekend, and which makes doing videos and bits and pieces a little bit more difficult, as you can imagine. Also, I want to mention the video from yesterday. Did a video with Gonzo yesterday talking about ownership, stadium. If you haven't seen it, I suggest go and watch it. Not trying to big myself up here, but anything like that, but more because of what Gonzo said. I've got to be honest, it's got me really excited. Spoken to Gonzo a bit about it as well, and I think that it's things are looking really interesting at West Ham at the moment. I don't want to sort of get too excited. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to let myself keep going down these paths of getting too excited when it comes to West Ham ownership and stadium and stuff and all that kind of stuff that I want to see happen. Like we all desperately want to see, change. But it certainly feels that we are heading in that direction and we could be seeing something really soon. So yeah, as I say, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. And I really appreciate the kind comments and messages and stuff. They've been really good. I want to talk about Vladimir Coufal actually in this video. Vladimir Coufal's done an interview. He's quite an outspoken player actually, Coufal, which I find quite refreshing. When he played for West Ham, it was quite regular that when he went back to Czechia to go and play his international football, he'd speak to like the journalists there, and he was very open about his feelings about West Ham and the manager and all at the time, all that kind of stuff. He was very much a person that wasn't afraid to say how he felt about things, which I like. Great for content, but also great for West Ham fans. We need that. We need to see what's going on. I mean, how much spin we get fed from players and everything else. It's not their fault. It's just that's what they're contracted to do. They're not going to come out and slate the club, are they? That they're playing for. But Coufal was one of those that never really held back, which I used to quite like. Now he's given an interview and he's spoken about his dismissal from the club. Is dismissal, was that the right word? Well, basically his conversation with Graham Potter, how he was let go. It's really not good reading. I'm going to be honest. It's angered me. There's two parts to this. First of all, the sort of Graham Potter situation, and not necessarily because I blame Potter, and I don't like what I'm reading from Potter in this at all. But it's the whole setup. It's just West Ham in general, how we treat players and how we treat people. We know this, and it kind of ties into what I was just saying about the ownership and stuff. This is, we want new owners, but it's things like this that make you go, this is the reason why. It's just bad. It's so awful how we treat players sometimes. I mean, we've seen it so many times over, haven't we? I remember Ginger Pele never getting a testimonial, things like that. Just horrible. Things like that. It's just such a lack of class we've got about this club at times. I really don't like it. So I'm going to read out what Coufal said, and we'll discuss it as we go. And then I'm going to talk about his sort of big comment he made about the training ground, which I think, again, is just a damning reflection of the football club and where we are really, and what's wrong and why West Ham fans want change. But let's read this right. So he basically, where I've picked this up from is where he said that he was called to a meeting by Graham Potter to his office, right? And he said, I didn't know why he wanted to see me. I thought it might be about starting at Old Trafford because it couldn't have been about me not doing well in the training sessions or about a bad presence in the team. So he thought, I'm not going to get a bollocking. I thought I was going to be put in the team to face Manchester United. That's when Potter told me the club wouldn't be extending my contract. I asked him why, and he said it was just a club decision. Was it the manager that didn't want me? The board? I have no idea. It was a very disappointing. Our conversation lasted 30 seconds. 5 years at a club just for 30 seconds. The hardest moment was going home and telling my wife and kids. Oh, so sad, really. That we cried, and I was sad for her because she was leaving her friends behind in London. My son Nicholas had just signed a contract with West Ham's academy. I didn't know how to explain to him that we'd have to move to another country. I was no longer good enough to stay in the club that he loves. He started crying, and he didn't want to speak to. He didn't speak to me for 2 days. Look, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, look, that side of thing, I think, is just football. I will say that is the life of a footballer and a sports person at times. I'm afraid. I think you are at times you're going to want to be at a club and they're going to say, unfortunately, you're not quite there anymore at the level we need, and we're going to move you on. That does happen, and I appreciate that it's tough. So there's a little part of me that kind of goes, okay, I get that is sad and it's horrible, but it's just the way West Ham deal with it. He's right, 5 years at a football club and all that service, and helped us lift a trophy and all that kind of stuff, and sort of just told over a quick conversation that now we're not really in contracts. And I just think there's better ways you do things. I think there's nicer ways you can handle things. I just think it doesn't reflect well, not so much, well, certainly on Graham Potter, but the football club in general. He thought that Daddy was going to carry on playing at West Ham forever. I felt like it was my fault, and I took it very personally. Honestly, I thought I was actually going to retire at West Ham. If they had extended my contract by 2 years, or even given me just a 1 year deal with an option for a further year, I would have happily accepted it. I had it all pictured in my head that that's how it was going to end. I'd be 35, so it's 36, the end of my contract, and I still felt that I had something to offer, but it was the wrong manager at the wrong time. So he's blaming Potter here. I didn't fit into his plans, and I was forced to leave, unfortunately. I mean, as I say, I've got kind of a bit of sympathy for West Ham in that regard, a little bit, because it is still, that's football. If at the end of the day, if a manager comes in and goes, like, I'm going to make some changes, unfortunately you don't fit, that is just how things pan out. But I just don't like how we've handled it, and he's obviously really got a bit of a problem with the fact that Potter handled it the way he did and didn't really give him much. It seems like it was a bit of a blunt conversation. It doesn't sound like there was much warmth to any of this. It felt like he's saying, well, I'm letting you go. That's it. Club decision. See you later. Out the door you go. And I think it must have been quite tough for him. And I can understand that. 5 years service, you'd feel you deserve a little bit more than that. They decided to go in a different direction, and I'm still not over it. Don't get me wrong. I'm really happy at Hoffenheim. We're doing well. We have a great manager, but I still feel I could have proved myself further in the Premier League. This is interesting. In January, Fulham made West Ham an offer, and it was a 2-year contract. But Potter and his sporting director, whose name I don't remember, Carl McCauley, said no, we're not going to do that. I wasn't allowed to go, and then I was released. It was a very strange decision. I can understand where he's coming from. I guess that possibly they were looking at it as that we didn't want to strengthen a rival. But again, I just think there's ways you go about things. There's ways you treat people. It's not the fact that it's the footballing decision and the fact that you got to weigh things up a little bit and say, well, do we want to sell to a London rival? I'm not quite sure. I kind of understand those parts of it, but I think there's if you brought Coufal in for a proper conversation, with a respectful conversation, we're going to take you out, a bit of lunch or something, whatever it may be, and just say, look, we respect everything you've done at the football club. You've been a fantastic servant to West Ham. We'd love you to be a part of the things in the future. So once you retire, we'll open a door for you to maybe come back as an ambassador or something like that. Do you know what I mean? There are ways that you can let people go in the right manner. I just think we lack that. We don't have that class. We don't have that human touch. It's just a sort of cutthroat, nasty, cold approach to everything, and I just don't like it. I think that you get it with certain players. If someone said to me, "Oh, we're going to," Fulkrug, for instance. If Fulkrug goes, I mean, even with Fulkrug, he's been a couple of years, but it's still ways you do it. But I can understand where you might be a bit like, look, we're going to let you go. You want to go, off you go. I understand you might not, be rolling out the red carpet and all that kind of stuff for him, and giving him big hugs and kisses and all that sort of stuff before he goes. But you get my point. I just think there's certain players that deserve it more, and I think someone like Coufal has been there long enough. He's been a great player for West Ham. It just feels sad that that's how we did things. It's a shame. But the big part I felt that his comments were because that isn't a good reflection on West Ham as it is anyway. But the bad reflection is on the training ground. Now, I get really tired of hearing from the football club regarding the training ground. I always think it's all smoke and mirrors continuously. Very, very much a West Ham thing anyway. But this whole, oh no, this training ground is much better than you think, and oh yeah, we've invested this, we've invested this, we've invested this. Well, we don't see any investment, right? We see what we see, which ain't a great deal. And when we do see what we see, which is if you go on to today, I watched, a couple of days ago, you've got the pre-Liverpool build-up. By the way, no Somerville, I've noticed again in the training ground videos. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. Unless anyone can point me a video where he's there, I can't see Somerville, so I'm getting a little bit worried that he's not going to be available for Sunday, but I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, But if you look at those videos, you never look at that training ground ever and think, "Oh, yeah, they've done a lot of work there. Oh, yeah, that looks better." It just looks the same. I'm never impressed by it. And this is what he said. He said, "I'm impressed with so many things here." He's talking about Hoffenheim now. We have an unbelievable training ground, and it's not even possible to compare it to West Ham. There's everything you need. I love to stay at training after our sessions are over. We have a swimming pool. We have paddle courts. I'm blown away by how good it is. That's why the boys are in no rush to go home. It wasn't always like that at West Ham. I honestly wish they would just get a training ground like this one day. They need and deserve it. I mean, that is damning. That statement is exactly why what West Ham fans have been saying and what we've been moaning about and saying. And it's not, I mean, and it's a bigger picture, right? It's not just because, oh, the training ground, get the training ground done, we're all going to be singing around happy. That is just a reflection on our ownership and how crap we are and how cheap it all is. I'll read that again. I'm so impressed with things here. We have an unbelievable training ground, and it's not even possible to compare it to West Ham. I mean, that statement alone is just like, bloody hell. There's everything you need. I love to stay at training after our sessions are over. I mean, this is the thing. These guys, this is where they go to work every day. Do you know what I mean? You want them to, yeah, I want them to go to training and go like, oh, this is amazing. This is where you want to be. Be proud of it. I don't get that feeling at all with West Ham at all. We have a swimming pool, 2 paddle courts. I'm blown away by how good it is. That's why the boys are in no rush to go home. It wasn't always like that at West Ham. I honestly wish they'd just get their training ground like this one day. See, you know, former players saying it. Yeah, I just think it's damning. I think that statement is on a lot of levels. I think obviously the training grounds irks me massively, but you know the way we treat players is so wrong. And I'm glad you come out and said that because we need to hear this. This is really important. It's us fans to get the truth and to know what's going on. As I say, I think we're going to see new ownership at West Ham soon. I do. I really do believe that we are going to see change at West Ham. I think it's coming. I truly believe it is. As I say, if you haven't seen the video yesterday, go and check it out. Myself and Gonzo, really good, and you know, such a lovely bloke, and he shared some really interesting bits of information that he's aware of. So yeah, it's really worth a watch or listen, whatever you're doing. If you're listen to this on podcast, which I don't really talk to you people enough that listen. I've realised this recently, and I'm going to make more of an effort. There's people that listen to this show rather than watch it, which is, you know, ridiculous because you don't get to see this. I mean, this is, you know, what you're thinking. But no, if you are listening, I do really appreciate it because we do get a lot of listeners as well on sort of Spotify and all that kind of stuff. Spotify, yeah, Spotify, all that kind of stuff, you know, and yeah, so I just want to say, yeah, really, really do appreciate the you following us, and if you can give us a rating on there as well, give us a few thumbs up and all that kind of stuff on that, I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's where things are at the moment. As I say, I am away now, away for a couple of days, so the videos and on my podcasts on what have you are going to be a little bit all over the shop because I've got to try and sort of squeeze them in where I can. So just be a little bit patient with me, but I'll be back to normal from Monday. But I will try my best to get a video up on the morning of the game, at least, just to give us the team news and see where we are then. But look, have a good one. Enjoy your Friday, whatever it is you're doing. Keep safe, and I'll catch you soon. Come on, you irons.